My Lords, I am grateful to my noble friend Lord Farmer for initiating this debate. If noble Lords will indulge me, I propose to spend all of my few minutes talking about the continuing scandal of IPP prisoners and the noble Baroness Lady Burt of Solihull, the noble and learned Lord Thomas Cumgeath have already given some background facts on that. But just to summarise very briefly, in between 2005 and 2012, when this form of sentence was no longer given, nearly 9,000 people were sentenced to it. Of those, over 1,500 are still in jail, never having been released. And as an instance of the egregiousness of that, nearly 200 of those had a tariff of 2 years when they were sentenced, 2 years, and are still in jail, having served 10 years over that tariff. But the 1,500 still in jail doesn't represent the full tally, because in addition, as of March this year, there were 1,400 who are back in jail, having been recalled. Nor is the problem going to get any better. In a written answer given by my right honourable friend Kit Malthouse to the Member of Parliament for West Ham in another place in December last year, the Ministry of Justice said that they estimated that the number of people to be released over the next 4 years from the IPP prison sentence was of the order, it is a round number, it is an estimate, I accept that, of the order of 600 prisoners. Asked at the same time to estimate how many they expected to be recalled over the same 4 years, it amounted to 2,600 persons currently out on licence. So to the 3,000 currently in jail, we may confidently look forward to a further 2,000 being added over the next 4 years. And the situation is actually more fast-moving in policy terms than noble Lords might be aware. The Deputy Prime Minister and Lord Chancellor announced in a press statement a few weeks ago that he was arrogating to himself the decision when prisoners were to be moved from closed to open prisons, not to be released into the community, but when they might be moved from closed to open prisons. That move, of course, is an indispensable step for them ever to be released. No longer to be taken by the prison service, but by the Secretary of State or his delegate. And the test for whether they are to be transferred from closed to open prisons has moved from being a balanced assessment of the risks and benefits to being 3 separate tests, all of them harder, and all of them set out very kindly for me in a letter in response to a question I'd asked by my noble friend Lady Scott of Bybrook, a copy of which is in the library of the House. So things are not moving forward, they are moving backwards when it comes to addressing this injustice. I would like to take just a few seconds to remind noble Lords, I know they're aware of it, that nearly all of these people have families. And the families suffer as well from simply not knowing when, if ever, these sentences will be discharged, when they will be able to have their family member back as a normal member of society. And other members of those families suffer from the simple fact that they have seen their relatives successfully commit suicide, not merely attempt it, but successfully commit suicide while serving these sentences in simple despair at the very thought that they might be able to escape the system. If it is hard for ministers to do anything for prisoners who clearly are there because they've committed crimes of violence, that was a condition of why they're there in the first place, I fully accept that. If it's hard for ministers, especially in the other place, to do something for people who are in jail for that reason, let me at least make 2 propositions that ministers might take on board in relation to supporting those who are out on licence and living in the community. The first is, as we discussed in debate on the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill, they have to be out for 10 years. That is the qualifying period set in statute. before they can discharge the sentence finally. That 10-year period could be cut to 5 years with no risk to public safety because they are out already, and because if they have been out for 5 years, we know from experience the likelihood that they are going to offend and be recalled in the second 5 years, the half of it, is minimal. The second thing that ministers can do is that the current IPP action plan, which they have said they are going to revise in the light of the report of the Commons Justice Select Committee that we are all avidly looking forward to, says a great deal properly about the prison service and about the parole board, but very little about the probation service. The plan needs greatly strengthening in terms of the probation service and the support that is offered to these poor people as they try to rebuild their lives in the community. If my noble and learned friend the Minister could give assurances to the House that action will be taken on those two things at least, then he would allow me not only to welcome him to his place, but also to give him hearty congratulations in advance on his maiden speech.